So I'll be quick now, and I wanted to start by actually looking at the education system. I have noticed that this conference has been very much about tertiary level, and I think that Tim also mentioned that. But I feel that from a development perspective, and that is my perspective, one has to look at the education system as a whole system in any country, which involves not only the tertiary level, but also, of course, the formal sector. The formal primary and secondary levels, as well as all other institutions in the education system. I'd like to present it, sort of my views a little bit, and quick comments about what we have faced when it comes to the education system in a kind of ecological approach. And by first looking at the sort of the inner circle, which is really about the micro unit, the micro level, the unit within the Ministry of Education, which is in charge normally of ICTs in education. Believe it or not, in most countries where we have been operating, it's the ICT maintenance unit which is in charge of ICTs in education. And quite understandably, it's not really the unit which is needed in terms of doing what is needed to be done. Because within the Ministry of Education there are definitely other units, and of course teacher professional development units, curriculum units, special education units, etc. that need to be involved, and of course the policy levels. There are also in many countries lots of other ministries in the sort of wider system which do have a say and do have expectations, etc., which is about ministries for higher education, and the education system looks very different in different countries. Minister of Labour, ministries of other ministries who have expectations on the outcome of the education sector. And of course you have sort of a national level, which is about national policies on ICTs for development and on ICTs for education. And you have the telecom side, and you have the energy side. All that is part of the macro system. And I'm saying this for very special reasons, because I think that what is really lacking today is the kind of a system-wide approach to changing, which is the real potential of ICTs, or really changing the system. And I'll try to touch to some extent on what I believe in. We all recognize this picture. This is from Ghana. It's the papers-based media kind of teaching. As you can see, those of you who are familiar with the realities in Africa, you will recognize that this is quite a well-equipped and well-looking, good-looking kind of classroom situation. The kids are well-dressed, it's not too crowded, there are benches, there are books, which is not the case in a lot of school classrooms. So I'd like now to take us from the classroom situation and see what is happening in what we notice in many countries. The assumptions behind this learning model, of course, is that it's based on processing of behaviorist learning theories, and it's a transmission of knowledge, and that the learning is most effective when it's planned in tight programs, and it's kind of knowledge bricks that are put together. It's a kind of linear thinking. The challenge today is the electronic digital media, and you may recognize that it's the same dressed students. So the pictures really, to explain that quickly, is from the launching of the one laptop per child in Ghana, which took place earlier this year. Of course, is based on completely different assumptions about learning. It's based on constructivist learning theory. It's based on that learning is about constructing knowledge. And that learning is most effective when it sort of is constructed and is a meaningful product to the learner. And it's the systems thinking behind that. It's very popular with sort of one-to-one perceptions, and those of you who are from Ghana, I know there's quite a group here, recognize maybe these pictures from the tournament taking place some time ago in Ghana. But this one-to-one, there is this perception, you know, and these initiatives brought in, which actually are one-to-one for students. I'd like to quote a person who has been writing quite sensible things about what is happening, who actually says that many of these innovations based on open or child-centered or constructivist or radical education, they have been disappointing because they simply did not go far enough in making the student the subject and not the object of the learning process. And I'll define that a little bit further. If we look at sort of instructionism, which is hastily, it's very much drill and kill. It's static. where the learner is passive, the passive object of knowledge, and it can still contain sort of electronic flashbacks, but it's basically, you know, a kind of transmission of knowledge. And this is why I don't like the expression transfer of knowledge, which I think really reflects this view of learning. On the other hand, you have what is offered then through electronic media, which is the microworlds also, and it's far more dynamic and could be called constructionism, where the learner is the active subject in constructing knowledge. Here you have much more than of the sort of means of using interactive media, etc. Computer technology can provide these can be sort of used as interactive tools and provide these dynamic ways of learning. And one of those tools which are used out there is this LOGO, programming language for mathematics, which actually teaches the pupils to do what industry calls 21st century skills, which is about strategic thinking, about sort of designing and building knowledge, not just getting it and passed on. So if we look at these two situations, you know, and sort of the instructionism versus the constructionism, we can see that that there is also this perception of technicalization versus non-technicalization, because technicalization of instructionism, which can also then include certain electronic media, is really about improving instruction, whilst real constructionism is about to produce the most learning for the least teaching, which I think would be quite good for many countries. So looking at these sort of two parallel systems working side by side, which is what is happening today in many countries, there is a kind of tension and contradictions in this, and we'll look a little bit further into that. And the important thing is that there is an enormous potential for learning. I put a question mark after expanded learning, because I'm not sure today that this expanded learning actually takes place. There is this potential, and this is one of the messages I have. There is a need for looking into what this actually says, because it's not to say one is bad, one is not. All these exist, but there is a reason for looking into what does it tell us in terms of different aspects of learning. And the central issue of change in education is the tension between technicalization and not technicalization. And here I would say another message is about the role of the teacher. I know many systems and many interventions are really trying to circumvent and bypass the teacher. I don't believe in that. I don't think that is possible. Rather, the teacher is a very central figure in this. I'll quickly run through an Ethiopian one-to-one pilot done in 2007. Do we have Ethiopians here? No? Ethiopia is not one. I might be very ignorant about the Commonwealth of Learning, but you may excuse me as being both working in Ireland and being in Sweden, non-Commonwealth of Learning Commonwealth person. This was based on the OLPC-XO sugar applications with Eduvision Malepo software, digitizing Amharic. This is why I'm asking if there is anybody from Ethiopia here, because it's supposed to say Amharic and not what it says here. Anyway, digitizing Amharic textbooks into Ethiopian education system. It was 2 schools with 2 second-grade classes, 12 teachers, 3 workshops of training, in-class and after-class support. The Ethiopian pilot was an example of where you actually have a very hierarchical instructionist model and an education system which is very much based on, it's rooted in the rote learning, the repetitive learning, versus the heterarchical constructionist model, which is then embedded in this kind of device and applications. And the tensions and contradictions that we can see from here, is about sort of, and I've made sort of a quick list about sort of the comparisons between the face-to-face, the traditional teaching, and the one-to-one, which is in terms of objectives. In the face-to-face, it's really about instilling politeness, obedience, while in the one-to-one, it's about self-controlled learning, group work, dialogue. In terms of it's traditional, it's replicating, perpetuating a role-based approach versus that the rules are set by outsiders, and this actually means that you have a variety of actors involved who actually set the rules.